26 days after Lou Elizondo testified before Congress in an effort to expose the truth on UFOs, he received 11 follow-up questions from Representative Eric Burlison on December 9th. And Lou's responses have just been made public thanks to Douglas Dean Johnson. Taken individually, his answers paint pictures. But when you take a step back and take a holistic view of all of his responses, a story begins to emerge. A story that is greater than the sum of its individual parts. A story about what's been going on behind the scenes that sounds like this. Exotic material of non-human origin was recovered from a UAP crash retrieval in the 1950s and eventually ended up in the hands of Lockheed Martin Space Systems. In fact, Lou says that he's aware of several historical incidents where the U.S. military and defense companies have recovered craft of non-human origin. And in some cases, biological specimens were also recovered. But due to the nature of the crashes, Lou doesn't know conclusively if those specimens were in whole or partial, or even if they were dead or alive. Fast forward to 2001. Shortly after September 11th occurred, the government significantly reduced its UAP legacy efforts due to budgetary constraints associated with the global war on terror. Despite this reduction, in approximately 2004, a White House-sponsored conversation took place to determine if the U.S. public was prepared for acknowledgement of UAP by the U.S. government. Scientists from both OSAP and ATIP had a seat at the table, and after about a week of deliberation, the decision was made that the U.S. government should not disclose any UAP-related information to the general public. Now ask yourself, 21 years later, do you think that we, the people, are now ready for the government to come clean and acknowledge that a non-human intelligence is interacting with humanity? Next, when Lou was involved in ATIP, they engaged with senior executives at DoD defense aerospace companies who claimed to possess recovered exotic material not made by any U.S. or foreign source. Specifically, the former director of OSAP, Dr. James Lakatsky, has stated that the then vice president of Lockheed Martin Space Systems, Dr. James Ryder, planned to get rid of some UAP material because the defense contractors couldn't glean any additional insight from the material, so they attempted to divest themselves of it by agreeing to allow ATIP OSAP to take custody of the material. Of note, when Lou was asked how it was determined that Lockheed Martin was in possession of non-human technology, he was unable to provide an answer due to lack of direct knowledge. But I think it's reasonable to assume that Lou was informed that Lockheed Martin was in possession of UAP material by James Lakatsky or possibly Jay Stratton. Around that time, OSAP was allocated $22 million from Congress thanks to Harry Reid, Ted Stevens, and Daniel Inouye. Funding which was originally intended to skiff out Robert Bigelow's storage facilities in Las Vegas in anticipation of receiving UAP material. However, before Lockheed Martin could transfer the recovered UAP material they had in their possession to Bigelow Aerospace, the CIA allegedly got involved and blocked the transfer. Lou also stated that there seemed to be some passive resistance from within some elements of the CIA to stop ATIP from investigating UAPs. Additionally, similar obstructionist efforts were made by the U.S. Air Force, who had an active campaign within its organization to suppress inquiries and investigations into the UAP topic. But back to the skiffed-out Las Vegas storage facility. I suspect that Bigelow had to foot some or all of the bill for its construction. Because according to Lou, OSAP's $22 million budget was directed at a variety of programmatic needs, including commissioning academic studies on advanced physics concepts, funding civilian personnel and contractors, and conducting field research. This, of course, resulted in the creation of 37 DIRDs that covered topics such as transversable wormholes, stargates, negative energy, anti-gravity for aerospace applications, warp drives, dark energy, and the manipulation of extra dimensions. Next, Lou states that a new $10 million hangar was constructed in Maryland at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station, or PAX for short. PAX just so happens to be the headquarters for the Naval Air Systems Command, or NAVAIR for short, where the Navy conducts research, development, testing, evaluation, and sustainment for all Navy and Marine Corps aircraft and systems. The Pax River hangar, which was funded at the request of then Representative Steny Hoyer, was purpose-built to meet the requirements of a Special Access Program facility and was therefore able to facilitate the transfer of future materials of interest at any classification level via air or river. And in what might just be the most interesting of all of Lou's responses, he stated that as a result of studying the exotic material, the U.S. government or a defense contractor has made breakthroughs in physics that are currently undisclosed to universities and the general public. When asked about the origin of UAPs, Lou wrote that in addition to the possible extraterrestrial origin, ATIP scientists proposed that the UAPs could have an interdimensional origin, or even a cryptozoological origin, possibly even originating from the depths of our oceans. Oceans that have only had 26.1% of their seafloor mapped with modern high-resolution technology. I refer to this as the abyss hypothesis. Furthermore, some of the non-human intelligence responsible for some of the UAP might be as integral to our environment as our other natural phenomenon. But we currently lack the tools to properly observe and measure them using our conventional scientific methods. Next, Lou encourages the Committee on Oversight and Accountability to obtain and review the U.S. government's current UAP Security Classification Guide that outlines the classified aspects of UAP and their levels of classification. He also recommended that they get their hands on the UAP collection requirements from the Office of the DNI, which may highlight critical gaps in our understanding of UAP. Sadly, Lou then states that he and many of his former colleagues have faced retaliation for their public advocacy of UAP transparency, including efforts to suspend or revoke their security clearances, which is in addition to direct threats for their safety and for the safety of their families. Some elements within the DoD and intelligence community have engaged in administrative terrorism to deter individuals with security clearances from raising this issue. Other forms of retaliation have included harassment, surveillance, adverse bureaucratic actions, unauthorized data leaks, criminal investigations, and even death threats. Lastly, Lou states that efforts to discredit whistleblowers and spread disinformation to the public and Congress from within the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office have persisted from at least 2017 until today. So now that you've heard Lou's responses, what other questions do you have that you'd like him to answer? Let me know in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.